All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly Drum Project's Open Drum. I am Kurt Kubasek, and I'm one of our steering committee members. Just wanted to welcome you tonight, and please pardon me if I am distracted at any moment by people in the waiting room or whatever, trying this out for the first time, running this meeting. But we are really excited to have so many great drumming folks in the house tonight presenting and viewing. This is really the most groundbreaking event we've done so far for Philly Drum Project during the pandemic. And we're really excited to try this out to kind of, as I was saying to somebody in the sound check, like get inside somebody's drum cave and see what they've been up to and what kind of ideas they want to share with us tonight. And it's really just an honor to be able to host this. We have so many amazing drummers throughout the city. And if you don't know what Philly Drum Project is, we are a nonprofit collective of drummers around the city of Philadelphia. We put on events normally in person, and usually we'll have small events called Beats, Brews, and Banter, where we get together, have a few libations, and have a special guest. And then we usually have these open drum events every now and then where we invite Philly Drum Project members to present short presentations. We also have quarterly events, and we have a big quarterly event coming up in December that we're shortly going to announce our special featured guest, who's a huge name in drumming. I wanted to bring your attention to the fact that we have Leon Jordan Sr. coming in on November 17th. That's a Tuesday night. And he will be presenting for our Beats, Brews, and Banter next month in November. So make sure you check out the Facebook event that will be coming up. I'll be making it probably pretty shortly. But right now, we're probably just going to get started since we've got a stacked lineup. We have 8 different drummers presenting this evening. And we did a bunch of little sound check, make sure that you guys will be able to hear them. But we're doing this live, so you never know what will happen. So appreciate everybody's patience. The other thing is we have a chat here, and I would love to use that to facilitate questions towards the towards whoever is presenting. So if you have a question for someone and yourself, maybe consider putting it in the chat. But if I don't see it, pop yourself on mute there and just say something. It's totally okay. Not going to be offended. Trying to stay on top of a lot of things. So the idea here is actually that we're going to try to start a conversation. So if people start feeling like they want to, start having a little bit of back and forth with some of the conversations that go on about whatever's being presented, that's fine. This is kind of an experiment, so I'm open to anything. Feel free to put also your support for our presenters in the chat. And I like to use this as my clapping when I'm on Zoom, just to let people know that I'm clapping for you, because this just seems kind of silly. It makes me look like a seal, but this is really exciting. So feel free to do this after anybody's performance if you want, and give them any love you want in the chat. The last bit here is that I just wanted to remind you to think about joining the Philly Drum Project as a member, which basically means you get on our emailing list and you're just letting us know that you're enthusiastic about what we are doing. We used to charge membership dues, and actually we are not doing that anymore because we are in the certain circumstances that we are in as a nation. So we are waiving all membership dues at the moment, and I'm happy to report that we do have some money in our budget to help put on events. We will be doing some fundraising for Giving Tuesday in November, but we are very excited to be able to put this on, and next month bring in Leon Jordan Sr. And the month after that, as I said, a really big artist on the national and international drumming scene in December. So like I said, that BB&B with Leon is in November 17th. And that's basically it for my part of this. I'll be kind of guiding us through our different presenters, but I just wanted to introduce my man Shawn Hennessey to kick it off. Shawn is a great percussionist around the city. I'm really excited to see what he's got for us tonight. And Shawn, I'm gonna spotlight you so that we can all see you. And last thing I'll say is, everybody, you have a way to change yourself from gallery view to speaker view on Zoom, and you might want to consider changing that up if you want to focus on just Shawn or see the rest of the gallery. Shawn, how you doing?
I'm great, Kirk. How you doing?
Good to see you. You ready to roll?
Sure, man. Sure, man. Thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm so happy for Philly Drum Project. I'm really proud of you guys. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. It's really awesome to be doing this, and you have a wonderful space that you're doing this in. I'm so excited to just see everything you got there.
Yeah, well, we moved to Mount Airy from Germantown about 3 months ago, and I have this back garage studio that I'm kind of turning into a little it's where I teach, it's where I play, and I'm really thankful for that. Yeah, and the setup, the stuff I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to keep it short because I know there's so many people. But what I was going to share is triplet modulation um, from like 6/8 to 12/8. So I guess to like 16th notes, but with continuously alternating your hands. I wanted to do something that's like the drum set people could take away, but also for percussionists. Um, Setup I have here is most of the stuff I do live is bongo over here, and then quinto, and then a tumba or whatever that could be. Then I have a chimbao over here. I usually have a bell rack over here or something. Today, the thing I'm going to be doing is just the three congas really, and then I can show you how to mix it into the hybrid format. I'll put up a sort of transcription. I'm going to share some graph paper notation, and hopefully people can see it. Let me know, Kirk, if that's coming through.
Yeah, it is.
Is it sideways?
No, it's not sideways. You got turned sideways for a second, but we can see the notation.
Well, I can unshare it in a second. If people want to take a screenshot of it, that's also cool. So it's just you see the 6/8 on the top. I'm assuming that everybody understands how to modulate like from 16th notes to triplets. So if we're having the way it's written is three, when the line that has three there's three congas. The one in the middle is the quinto. The one at the top is the segundo, and the one at the bottom is the tumba. So the first measure, the thing at the top goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, and I'm sure you guys all know. Like if I did that. It's something that I'm kind of messing up in my head right now. So let's just talk. There's that one, and then if you skip down to the next 6/8, it's the same thing. Just start shifting the triplets to the right. So you got right, left, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then below that we have 6/8. This one. The three positions of the same thing. Now, if you stretch that out to 6/8 to 12/8, and slow it down a little bit, and then you shift the quinto part like this. This is what I wanted to share really. So it's like the first one at the top again. So now I'm on the second line where I stretched it out to 12/8. And back. Again. So that's the first position. Here's the second position. Oh, sorry, second position. 1, 2, 3, this one. It ends up on the 8, on the dotted 8th. And here's the third one. The basic. And this one is and what's written there is like the groove, like all the ones, it's like groove and then you can repeat. So the groove is actually just like, you know, if I go back to the top one. So it's like, it's so jumpy when you do it the other way. But if I go, that it becomes more groovy if you just do it for a second. And the goal for this is sort of like creating your independence to where you're able to flow between these things, not just between triplets and 16th notes. For example, the third example is like this, right? So everybody here can do that. But then you go bring it into 6/8 and then back there. And it's really good for so here's a second example. Put it all over.
Woo! Everybody give it up for Shawn. Hey, Shawn, I love what you're sharing with us.
Should I cancel that?
Maybe so we can see you normally for a second.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah, so you could I'm unsharing it now. Does anyone have any questions or want me to do something else with it?
Well, people wanted to know first where the woodblock was coming from. Some people are suspect it's coming from the foot.
I have it on my left foot, yeah. Yeah, so at first I was doing it just with the pulse, right? That's how you should practice it, obviously. But, you know, and then I put the rumba clave in, and then like the 6/8 clave. So the 6/8 clave is when you're playing in 6/8, and the rumba clave is when you're playing in 16th notes. But then, you know, when you're doing this 12/8 thing, your 6/8 becomes counted in 16th notes in your head. You know, so you got, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I think so. Hey, cool. Shawn, I can't tell. It kind of seems like you're still stuck on sideways, unless my computer's glitching.
Maybe I'll just undo this and then go. How's that? Am I back to normal?
All right.
Yeah, for some reason it's weird. When I shared the screen, it went to like the old not 16:9 or whatever. So yeah, is there any I don't know, is there any questions with that? I mean, I'm happy to show it again if you can see it better, or take any questions.
Could you just play it one more time?
Yeah, if anybody has a question, feel free.
Sure. So I'll do the first example. Oh, go ahead.
I was wondering if it ever ends up
Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's number 3. Is that what you're talking about? Does that make sense? I think that's what you're talking about. That's number 3. Number 1 is I'll do it a little slower. So, this is at the top. Here we go. I'm gonna go into the repeat. Look at where it says repeat. Back. Example 2. Go down to the repeat. That's the one that I use a lot in Roomba and probably use it a lot. You know what I mean? And then there's the one at the bottom.
So I was trying to figure out like what would be the best way to apply this on a kit. Obviously, for me it's super melodic, right? The sticking is mostly alternating or all alternating, right?
It's all alternating, yeah. Yep.
So it'd be really fun to voice it on toms and then also on like shorter decay items and hi-hats and
Yeah, you could totally do it on a low tom and a high tom and the snare. Any three sources. And with a hybrid percussion setup. I mean, I'm sure you guys can think of 100 ways to voice it on the drum set. It's really like the only thing it is. I mean, I'll just take one last point to it. It's just sort of based on like 12/8 African bell, which is like the root of all coolness, man. It's like, when you have the 12/8 bell and you're feeling it in 16th notes, there's so many possibilities to be able to dance to it, So that's what this is sort of all based out of. Hey, honey, you're right there. You can come in. Yeah, and so my projects are, Shawn, if you guys want to look me up, it's Leana Song. I have a website, ShawnHennessey.com. My projects are Leana Song. It's an Afro-Cuban fusion. And my original songwriting projects, Hennessey Bonfire. I teach world percussion program at Germantown Friends School for the past 18 years. And I also play with Trinadelphia, an incredible band. Bagidi Kumalo and the Graceland Experience. And I've been doing the Uprooted, the new version of Rusted Root. So you can find all that info at the website. And here's my daughter, Belle. Oh, yeah. So thanks so much for your time, guys. Thanks. If I went over, I'm
Shawn,
I'm sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Kurt.
You're fine, Shawn. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Everybody, my computer after Shawn's screen share got totally glitched out, so I'm gonna restart my program. Next up on the list. Great. So I just wanted to announce our next artist, who's gonna be Dustin Mallory. And Dustin is a buddy of mine. I met actually probably way back when I first moved to Philly. And he did he's a great drummer. He's an educator. He runs big bands for I think middle and high school. You can tell everybody, Dustin, your own story. But I met Dustin on a gig. I think Dustin was playing a different instrument, maybe guitar at the time, which he's also great at. And I think I was playing drums. So anyways, Dustin did a master's on Philly Joe Jones. And he's just somebody that I look up to. He writes liner notes for jazz albums and has been published in PASIC. So everybody give it up for Dustin Mallory. And really excited to see what you got to share. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kirk. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course, man.
All right. Let me know if the sound gets funny at all.
It sounds great so far.
Sweet. So the name of the presentation that I guess I should say who I am first, so you know. I'm Dustin Mallory. I teach percussion at Lincoln University, the HBCU out in Chester County, Pennsylvania. I'm also a 4th and 5th grade band teacher, Wissahickon School District, and I also teach one of the jazz bands at the high school there. So I'm kind of all over. So my apologies up front if I come off as teacher-ish. I spend a lot of time with little kids, so.
I think there's a lot of teachers on the call, Dustin. So you're in very comfortable company.
Deal. So yeah, the presentation that I kind of wanted to talk about today will, in some senses, seem really basic, but in other senses, it's can be a full exploration of thought. So I call it, when I'm teaching my kids, I call it the 3 T's of drum sound, which is tone, timbre, and technique. And I want to talk about the first 2 of those today, tone and timbre. And the reason why I want to do that, I think, is because if you go on YouTube or old DVDs or whatever, looking at drum instructional stuff, there's a ton of material out there on like building your hands up, rudimental drumming, right? Building your independence. There's a ton of stuff on grooves, drum set grooves, all that good stuff. And I feel like in the space of tone and timbre, most of what's out there is like how to tune your drums, what kind of wood you want in your drums, what brand of cymbals you want to buy, and all that stuff's super important. But I also think that the way you approach your drums and your cymbals, they're just your touch is gonna, it can be everything. It can be everything. Granted, you know, all that other stuff is like the 90% of building a drummer, or the 95%, whereas your touch is kind of like that last little bit. But I tell a lot of my college kids that it's the difference between like a really good drummer and a really great drummer. So I'll start with the most basic thing that drummers like to argue about, right? Is wood tip stick versus a nylon tip stick, right? And I like to show my younger students, when you're on a cymbal, like I'll take a dry cymbal, you know, your wood tip is going to be a darker sound than a nylon tip stick, right? Okay, so why would people choose one or the other? And I like to tell kids there isn't a right answer. I'm not I don't have a dog in the race in terms of picking one thing or the other. But I do want students to think about, okay, which situation are you in right now, and what do you want to have happen? And so when you think about that, you might want to switch it up. That's why you see these guys with these massive stick bags, right? You know, because you're going to need different sticks and different mallets for different situations, right? So another example that I like to show students too is the head on the drumstick, right? So like this stick here that I'm using is the Dave Weckl Evolution for the stick. And the reason why I picked this one is because it's got a teardrop bead on the top of the stick. Probably can't see it too well, but you know what I'm talking about. So with a teardrop bead, it's a completely different sound than like this oval bead on this like cheaper drumstick that I have. So over here on this cymbal, I'll just play a little bit so you can hear the difference. So this is a wood stick with the oval bead. And then you'll notice with the teardrop bead, you're getting a little brighter sound. And finally up to, you know, the nylon tip. So I hope that kind of demonstrates a little bit of the start of where I'm going with this. Obviously, I know some drummers they don't like nylon tips on drums because it's almost like plastic on plastic. You know, drummers can argue about that, and we all do. But that's kind of the back and forth on that sort of stuff. So just to keep moving in this same thread, the way you approach your cymbal, the angle with which your arm is at or your cymbal is at is going to completely change the sound. It's radically different. So like if I'm just riding, just 8th note riding on my cymbal and change my arm angle, completely different sounds. Now, you're not going to play like that normally, right? But the angle that your cymbal is at on your kit is going to change the sound. Same with the angle that your arm is coming at on that cymbal. completely different sounds. Now, I always like to use a triangle. Sorry, I do a lot of orchestral percussion, so I use this as an example because it's the most obvious example possible. If you hit a triangle at a 90-degree angle, you're going to get the pure sound of that triangle. If you hit that triangle on a 45-degree angle, all the overtones of the triangle come out. I don't know how well that translates on a Zoom call, but I'll do it again. 90-degree angle and 45. And so, like, if I'm doing an orchestral gig, I'll start with, like, if I'm doing a ballad or something, I'll try the overtones, and once in a while those overtones clash with whatever key the orchestra's playing in. So then I'll make that adjustment in my mind to switch over to a 90-degree angle. So again, it's just a small thing, these little small things, but if you can think about them in your playing, it makes a world of difference. It's that, like I said, it's that last 5%. So the last thing I want to talk about is translating that over to your cymbal, right? I'm just going to do a quick cymbal switch here, actually. So, as you know, when you're playing on a cymbal, the closer you play to the bell, the more articulate the sound is going to be, and you're going to get less wash out of the cymbal. The more out to the edge you are, the more wash you're going to get out of your cymbal, right? With less articulation, right? So up here, you can hear that pretty clearly, but out on the edge, the cymbal starts to wash out. So it depends on what you're going for. Like if you've written a part that's super rhythmic that you're doing on your ride cymbal, you might want to move in maybe like a ½ inch on your ride cymbal to bring out that articulation, right? Or if, you know, if you're just rocking out 4/4 or whatever, and it's the big jam and you're building up, you might think about moving your hand back out to the edge a little bit to build some wash out of your cymbal. So again, there's no right or wrong answer on this stuff. It's just in the moment thinking about where you're going. So one thing that I see a lot, this is, my students do this all the time and I'm always giving them a hard time about it, which is a lot of drummers, when there's like a cymbal roll in a tune, you can do it with sticks or with mallets. I'm just doing it with mallets right now for to demonstrate the concept. But I'll see them go to do a cymbal roll and they don't really think like, where do the sticks or mallets go? They're like, I'm just gonna do a cymbal roll, and they'll come in and go. And it's fine, but nothing takes me out of the music more than when I hear a cymbal roll and I can hear the articulation of the mallets, like they're almost like up on the bell almost, right? When you're listening to a movie and you hear that cymbal swell, right? The big crescendo swelling, you never hear the articulation of the sticks or mallets. So I always say to my students, think about playing as far out to the edge as possible, right? Because the more inside you are, the more articulation, less wash you're gonna get, but the more outside the cymbal you are, the more wash you're gonna get and less articulation. So when I do a cymbal roll, I'm so far out, right? I'm so far out on the cymbal that half the mallet isn't even touching the cymbal. I'm way out here. I'm almost coming in at the side. And that's how you can get those big like movie swells in like you'd hear in the movies, right? The big long suspended cymbal roll. So less, I guess the point I'm trying to make is less about saying that one way is better than another, or one, you know, approach is better than another, or one stick or whatever. It's more of like I think of it like a toolbox. And I try to tell my students, think about having a toolbox where you have all the tools available to you, where you have everything at your dispense, and to really be thoughtful about what you're doing. Even if you're just doing a 4/4, you know, ride groove, you know, backbeat on 2 and 4, you know, should you be 2 inches out from the edge of the cymbal, 2.5 inches out? What is the music calling for in that moment? And really just being mindful of all those things. I know it's like really basic, but on the other hand, I feel like a lot of drummers can take, when they take the time to have that thought about it, they really come up with some interesting stuff and some interesting ways to move the music. And that's what really affects their tone and timbre. And I see somebody wrote in the chat there, what's the difference between tone and timbre? And I guess in my mind, timbre is the color of your sound. And that can mean different things for different people, but just how exactly you're coloring that sound. Are you looking for darker shades or brighter shades, right? It's like you're an artist and you've drawn a sunset, and do you want that sun to be yellow or orange? What kind of sunset are we having here? And so it's that little extra 5% that in my mind makes a huge difference. So that's kind of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful.
Let's give it up for Dustin, everybody. That was awesome, Dustin. I love that.
Thanks, guys.
I like how you really you presented many different angles of this thing we call drumming or percussion or whatever within your scope of tone and timbre. And yeah, that was awesome. And it's funny, I was talking to John, who's gonna be presenting pretty soon here. John, he and I were talking about how drummers debate nylon and wood tips, and just kind of how we can get locked into these debates. And I'm sure he can talk a little bit more about it. But I just thought it was funny that you brought that up immediately. And
as soon as I came on the call, you guys were chatting about it, and I thought, oh no, I might have to switch my presentation here.
No, yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, thank you so much, Dustin. And is there anything you want to let anybody know about how to follow your work, or any ways to look for you out there in the world?
Yeah, man. So my website is mallorymusic.com. You can also shoot me an email too. It's Dustin Mallory Project, DustinMallory project @gmail.com. And yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to hit me up.
Awesome. Let's give it up one more time for Dustin Mallory, everybody.
Thanks, Kurt.
And yeah, I am so pleased with how this is going. This is just so fun, and we're getting such a range of content. And I just wanted to remind everybody that these are folks that live around you, and we're building a community here, and it's super special to be doing that right now at this time. And I just really appreciate that everyone is here on this call right now. So let's see. So I had John, are you ready to roll? I've got John kind of next, and then let's see. I just wanted to, yeah, I think we're gonna go with John Katrina, folks, if he's ready to roll. And if you're not,
yeah, I'm good.
You're good? Okay, beautiful. And I think this is perfect because we had the nylon versus wood tip thing that happened in Dustin, and you can explain that within the terms of the concept that you're going to bring to the table now. Everybody, this is John Katrina, and we just had a beautiful phone conversation yesterday on this topic. And when John brought this up to me, I was actually very refreshed by the angle that he's choosing to come at this presentation tonight. So without further ado, let me spotlight you there, John, and you can get rolling.
Yeah. Am I live?
Yes, okay. You are.
Hi, everybody. My name is John Katrina. I'm not a drum teacher, but I am a teacher by degree. It's like biology, but everything else I do in consulting and some of my other work is all educational based. So the same apology that Dustin made about sounding too much like a teacher, you'll let me know in the comments, I'm sure. But the wood tip nylon thing is just a classic. I think us as drummers, we do a lot of our dialoguing in social media, and a lot of things come up. And the thing that I want to talk about today is this is my first opportunity to talk about it just to drummers, where we could back and forth slightly differently, because online things get lost a little bit more in trying to do comments in Facebook. But the nylon wood thing is one that always comes up, and it's completely preference. And then the Evans Remo thing is the other classic, I say World War III scenario, if drummers ever had one. But I'm going to introduce a new one. This one's not as much, I don't think, you'll let me know, but it's not a debate. To me, it's just it's expanding your mindset. It's not a let's go back to the good old days or anything like that. It's just something I don't think drummers think about their driver's seat of leadership as a musician as much, because there's so much commoditization and mass production. So I'll do this little presentation. It's a PowerPoint. We try to make sure it goes smoothly for you. Looks like we're good with sound, and we are gonna go with this, and then I'll look for comments, okay?
Awesome. Yep, you're doing, I can see that.
I realized that I didn't backtrack to the right page here. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Sorry, guys. My bad here. Something went wrong already. Okay, so here we go. Can everyone hear me okay? Good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
So handmade drum music is what we're calling it. Think outside the click, and how to maybe elevate our art once in a while. So playing to the click, obviously, for anyone who makes a living as a drummer is absolutely fundamental. We understand that, but I call it you survive inside the click, pay the bills, live to fight another day. It's something we all have to do. Obviously, from training with a click to actually playing and particularly recording in certain genres, live settings too. So there's an upside. Grid editing is that, you know, the sound engineer can put everything on the grid, and when they're mixing, it just makes things go way faster. I'm sure you guys are at different levels, so some of you understand this intimately, live and die with this, but it really speeds up music production. The time is absolutely perfect with a click, and it's a very polished sound. So that's where we kind of are today. Started in really around the 80s is when people really started adopting the click. The downside, I think, is where I just wanted to shed a little light that maybe to get people thinking a little bit more broadly about using a click or not using a click. So the artistry is something that drummers sometimes get a little bit relegated to. I actually don't really love the timekeeper. I know a lot of people probably not like that, because I think of a drummer more as a musician. And yeah, you're keeping time, but I just want to maybe share this with you guys, see if anyone else thinks of it out of the 50 or so people on this call. When I was just starting out drums and learning by ear with no lessons, I was playing in a band with my brothers. I felt the tempo was something suspended at our best moments. Almost a spiritual connection when we were playing and absolutely, utterly lost in the music. It's one of the most divine and euphoric feelings I've ever had, particularly when you're on stage in front of, you know, a crowd. And there was no counting of any kind or anything, but you were just being. So I think when you play to a click, you can do that, but it's not quite the same as when it's purely human. So that's what I say when I talk about expression and artistry. Something to keep in mind. Maybe you can relate to that, maybe not. But the downside of a click is it can reduce your leadership, because ultimately that click, whether you're moving on and off it, fading on and off it, it's still in charge and you're obeying it. So it's something else to think about. And then ultimately, if the very core of your music is a clock and not your heart and soul, it is inherently less human. You can comment stuff. I'm not saying it's bad and never you, just talking about this analytically. So then you get into training tools, which is the click really started as a metronome. I remember when I was a kid, you know, seeing it in music class. And like for painting, you have paint by numbers. For dance, you have the footprints on the floor. And then for like acting, you have cue cards. If you think of the absolute finest art of all time, it's hard to come up with an example that's not completely hand done. no apparatus that's kind of helping it. It's just purely out in the open, the artist in as pure an expression as possible with minimal assistance. So we go to a Pablo Picasso famous painting, and we think of like, would a Picasso or, you know, Van Gogh or someone like that, would they be painting by numbers? Probably not, if they're really trying to do their highest art. Dancers, Michael Jackson, you know, would he be using the footprints on the floor in his actual performance? I'm sure he's maybe maybe not Michael Jackson, but most dancers need to start out that way and use it as a tool and training. But is it what they're doing when they're at their height of their art? Acting. Of course, we have live skit shows like SNL where they use cue cards, but probably some of the finest performances also come in that special and divine space that comes from doing it without assistance. So just the thought to put into your mind that maybe our highest art, our Picasso, Pacino, and or Jackson is sometimes going off of that click and seeing what we can produce. And certain genres make that viable. Certain genres hardly ever use a click, but most of the popular music, and especially pop and dance, is I would argue is 100% click. But if you take somebody like John Bonham, I couldn't find any of his music on a click. And this is another thing about perception is it's down on the right here, musicianmachinery.com, click track detector. So this is Stairway to Heaven. The lower it goes, the faster the tempo goes. So as it goes down to the right here, the song's speeding up, obviously, and the story speeds up, obviously, from the beginning. In this, don't get me wrong, I love Trey Cool, I really do. And I'm not saying that he's worse because of this, but you can think of American Idiot and the difference in maybe whether, you know, one song is considered, you know, higher art or not. But as a drummer, you know, you can say that guy's great on the click and you can say the other guy's great off the click, but it's just something to maybe explore and experiment with. So this, I hope I clicked to put the sound on, Kirk. You're going to kill me. I think I might have forgotten if there's a way to do it.
You can always exit momentarily.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
Okay. So you'll let me know if you can hear it. This is a recording that I made, and I wanted to see it as an exercise. If you could guess, I'll just do about 2 minutes of it because the song story trajectory really goes up and down. But see if you think it's on a click or not on a click. Okay, so let's see. You all hear it? Birds chirping.
To where I'm scared of falling, and lights the dark corners of my life. But the situation got a little complications, because for now it's forbidden infatuation. And the days go on and I know that I'm going to see her face again. Maybe once in a lifetime that you might find this kind of friend. like a glowing angel. And we start talking about anything and everything, and we keep laughing about everything and nothing at all. Oh, but wait a minute, my fault, I forgot. We're not love, my fault, I forgot. We're not love.
I don't know how we would do it. Maybe on chat, you can see what you think. And I'll just tell you so I don't drive anyone crazy. It's a little bit of a trick question. This song is something that you can experiment with. I'm sure some of you guys know this already, but I've worked with engineers that will allow you to play through the song and kind of map your tempo fluctuations and then create a click within sections that are close to those fluctuations. So this particular song has a very distinct escalation in nervousness and in excitement. So I wanted to try to capture that. So this is actually done on a mapped click, is what I call it. I don't know if they call it that. But so it's kind of a hybrid between using a click and not using a click. So my playthrough was without a click, but that wasn't what was recorded. They then mapped an organic or a breathable click to that, and then I played to that click. I don't know the right terminology for that, but I'm sure they would know. So the takeaways, I think, are maybe if you haven't explored, some of our best art would actually be off the click, and it might be something that you want to try at some point when it's obviously you have to be in a situation where they're amenable. Explore the leadership then that gives you, particularly you see this in live jams. I mean, I've been in live jams where I'll just go from a rock beat or something into like a train beat or something. And people like Johnny Cash used to actually do like Rock Island Line is an old song where it started as a train chugging real slowly and the tempo continuously got faster and faster. So it also opens up some elements. And I know you can do that with clicks, but this was such a continuous increase in tempo. I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me, maybe there's a way to do that. You can contribute to the storytelling because stories do breathe and change, and there's scary parts, happy parts, and sad parts, and somber parts. Stairway to Heaven is a good example. And it's something that maybe a lot of drummers who grow up so necessarily having to use the click don't get to explore past that sometimes. And then also this is where it gets philosophical, is to we can all use a little bit more humanizing, I think. And that, if we dehumanize music too much, I think we dehumanize being human, because what's more human than music? So hopefully that gave you something that people don't think about too often. If anyone has any questions, happy. It's not a debate so much as a discussion. So I guess I'll go back to the screen now. If I do this right. Wow, am I still even on? Yeah, should be. Can you hear me, Kurt?
Yeah, we can hear you. You should
stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah, there
good.
You go.
Okay, I'm back. Oh, 60 people. Wow. Okay.
Hey, John, I just want to thank you for bringing all these points to light. This is a really, really fun discussion for me, especially when you, like, at first I have my gut reaction and then I have like all the other reactions as you start bringing up points, and I start going into my own spiral of like, you know, how reliant am I on the click, or how comfortable am I playing freely, and where does the line, where do I draw the line with how I make my art in this drummer world? I was curious if anybody wanted to actually unmute and reflect on this, because I think this is a really cool conversation, and I'd love to open it up just for a minute. Yeah, Jerry, I see your hand there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I've thought a fair amount about this myself in the context also of, you know, before recording techniques were so advanced, people went in the studio, they did one take, you know, and they, especially in the jazz world, guys were coming in and they lived with whatever it was, right? They played that solo. They didn't get a chance to come back in and play it again and fix a note and all those things. And so now we get much more perfect recordings because people have these opportunities. But I do wonder if we've really lost something that John was talking about in terms of the human element, the artistry of the moment, and people doing things surprising to themselves even, and just living with it. You know, certainly in improvised music, it's almost like it's a shame to ever record it in a way. Like you almost want it to just disappear, right? For those kind of ideas. So yeah, I wonder, like people are much more technically adept now. And we never hear anybody make a mistake in a recording like you used to. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Squeaking, right? The famous John Bonham Speed King, you could hear the squeaks in the recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not so much like it was better before as much as that human element. It's not a question of it was better. Is it how much are we dehumanizing it if we, if the next level is all the drums are synthetic, everything's, digital, and there's no more acoustic drums, where do you draw the line where it becomes AI is writing the melodies? Drums have been probably the first instrument. So we're talking, 100,000 years. And those acoustic drums really do struggle to be the preeminent version of drums, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm reading these chats properly here, guys. If anyone's asking me a question on chat, I might have missed it. Let's see. Oh, those that can play well with the click can play without, doesn't work as well the other way around. I think there's truth in that, yeah. But I'd say just explore, especially when you're making music with other people. I've found, I don't know, does anyone have that experience where the tempo's not really, no one's actually keeping the tempo by themselves? It's sort of suspended between the players. Am I the only one that experiences that?
I identify with this a lot, John. As much as it's been indoctrinated into me that the drums and the bass player are the timekeepers and everything is, based on our feel and how we push and pull off of each other. At least that's the kind of the way it was introduced to me in jazz school. But yeah, it's really cool to think about this because there definitely are moments that are suspended in time when you're playing. Like you're talking about this kind of like otherworldly divine experience that transcends time. And
right.
In those moments, it seems like we're all locking into some grid together that's not actually a grid, but is this organically breathing
and
thing.
It's actually spiritual. It's like beyond human almost.
Yeah, and I feel that deeply, and I've had those experiences left and right. The cool thing is actually one thing that helps me bring this to a greater view is I think those moments help me to realize that happens all around us all day long in our normal lives outside of music too. And trying to make those connections and see those things is the even deeper riff that this can go into in a way.
Yeah, and Kirk, the one analogy that I use, and forgive it for being crude, but like I asked, well, when you're making love, you're not doing it to a clock, right? So if that's one of the greatest experiences you can have, music to me is another where it's third worldly. So it's just an exploration thing. Like do it even as an experiment and just see where situations allow, like, do you feel any more freedom as an artist? And then do you travel into an area that you might not because the click can find you a bit,
Yeah.
Did I get everyone's questions?
Well, we're getting a lot of people. People are saying that they like it. They like it when it feels live. They also think it's good when it's, used for practical purposes. I love that you're posing the question, which I think as we move more towards synthetic stuff, that's a question we're going to need to remind ourselves of more and more. And
yeah, because AI is here, and that they're writing songs now. melodies.
Yep. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Data science is pretty amazing.
I don't know if this qualifies me as a Luddite, but I'm a drummer, and I definitely want to keep drums alive in my lifetime and beyond, hopefully. So.
Yeah, well, I'm optimistic that it's a loop. Like we as drummers, we like to imitate electronic drums, and then electronic drummers hear really cool stuff that organic drummers made that they were imitating electronic drums, and then they make an electronic loop that has like it's quantized to quintuplets instead of 16th notes suddenly, and then it goes again, and then so it's kind of cyclical in my mind in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I love reverse engineering drum machines. It's so fun.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to going on the next philosophical drum journey with you. Everybody give it up for John Katrina.
Yeah.
That was killer.
Thanks, guys.
One of the most unique presentations we've ever had on Open Drum. And I'm going to keep the ball rolling with Mr. Chuck. I just want to make sure I get your last name right here. Chuck and I don't think have met personally. You can hear me now, right? Chuck, I can hear you. Okay. Can you turn your volume up a little bit? Is there any way to turn your volume up? Yeah, I can unmute myself. Oh, I thought everybody, this is Chuck Morris. In my head, I kept saying Chuck Norris, and I said, that can't be right.
Oh,
so you
dang,
don't look
yeah.
But Chuck Morris, everybody.
I've dealt with that from day one, at least since second grade. So.
Well, great to meet
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kirk. I'm really happy and proud of what you guys have been able to accomplish in Philadelphia. And I've been down on Broad Street at one of your big shenanigans brought some other drummers with me, and it blew me out of the water. I had the greatest time of my life there. Yeah, and it's great to see you again, Ryan, as well. So today, I wanted to touch really quick on something. I'll try to keep this quick, but with the quantization that you were just speaking of, I've found really good luck with when I quantize something. I will go to 17% swing and about 72% quantize, and it sounds real natural. And that's a real win for you. Can just kind of dial those things in, hit quantize. If you don't like it, undo, dial them in a little a different ratio, and I just find right around there it sounds really human. So I've had a lot of luck with those numbers. So about 17% swing. Yeah, but if you quantize it too much, and you get it on that grid, it just doesn't sound like a person has been involved in any of it anymore. And so we'll get on to my lesson. I do a lot of electronic music and dance music, but I've had the chance lately to do some country gigs in Denver. Now, in Philadelphia, this isn't like really a thing, but I can make a little more money playing a country gig. So you got that kind of Austin, Texas shuffle sneaking in on some of those rhythms, and I really enjoy experimenting and trying that. It's one of the harder things for drummers, and to pull it out on the spot in a live situation, you got to get real comfortable with it, and it's taken me a little time to develop some of the things I'm going to talk about really quick. But one of them is I've made a little tablature, and maybe this is a good time to pull this out. That hi-hat foot is on the E. This is something that we're just not going to be comfortable with. Nobody wants to do that. Put the hi-hat on the E on your foot. So I'm going to try to demonstrate that a little later. I just want everybody to just, stay with me here. Okay, so I guess we'll flip over to the drums. Jump in. Yeah, there's quite the delay on this, so I'll try to keep my ears in, and then we'll see if it drives me too crazy. But I think one of the things that is good to start thinking about if you want to do a shuffle is, well, there's a bluegrass and a folk scene here in Denver. So I started, some of the guys will do just right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left on the snare. Right? We're kind of used to seeing that, but what I'm doing is trying to invert that. So we're going right, left, left, right. And you can still get that snap. I used to do right, right, left, and you get that going with the band, and they just can't get enough of it because you're laying into the stick right here. And you kind of got that rim shot. I end up doing that really fast. But when I invert it, I get something kind of it's really pleasing for the musicians, because these ghost notes, they want a drummer to play with brushes. But when I went to high school in Estes Park and played at the Stanley Hotel with these old jazz cats, they don't let you play with the brushes. And then they say, if you got to pick up the brushes, you're not doing your job. So I learned to play a little quieter with the sticks in high school with it. So the interesting part about doing this, coming into the left by saying right, left, left, right, when we start doing that, our ride cymbal pattern is going to I guess we're gonna, I'll just go ahead and play it. Now we're already getting into a little bit of that Purdy shuffle thing, where you're going tap, tap. But what my main incentive on this is to get around to being able to experiment and develop the right hand by doing a cascara on the ride cymbal. That's a great example of the type of thing I'll do at a higher tempo and get a really good result from the band. Everybody kind of turn around like, what's going on back there? That's really neat. So I guess normally you can start out with that pattern by keeping the right hand straight. And that can go all night. I think that people really start dancing when they're feeling that out. So I think I'll let that go and let you sit with that and move on to a different way to think about this left foot, and I'll tell you how I came across that. I guess I started doing inverted windmills, which is right, left, flam, right, flam tap on the right, and then a left, right, flam tap on the left. Let's try that, moving that to the hi-hat. So, I started doing this in about 2003, and I guess it's been a long time, but I finally came around to trying this in a different way, and you can still work in kind of a linear way, but keep this right hand over here, and let's drop the left hand for a little while. Now we're gonna go pick, foot, right hand. That's the beginning of what we want to get comfortable with. This left foot, getting that on the E is going to be a really kind of a battle. And I don't know that everybody wants to take this on, but I think what comes out of it is really neat. So I'm accenting right here. That's one E and then two E and. So if we get that going, we can kind of throw in the 1 now on the hi-hat. Boy, that delay is really messing with me. So we want to get comfortable with this right hand enough to where we're right. This is going to take some time. There's many different things that we can do with this left hand now. Now, once we get, I guess it makes sense to keep the kick on the 1, let's do a 4 on the floor, so that we don't have to embellish the right foot left. That's a whole different animal. Right, so now this left hand can do a number of things. We can, I guess, to keep this as short as possible, I'll move over my left hand over to whatever preferred instrument I might have over here. Often it'll be a piece of electronics gear, but I've found that in a live situation, the more acoustic elements that we can present live and in the moment is something that people are going to react to. So a normal tumbao rhythm on the conga will go 1, 1, right? So what I'm doing is kind of getting this right hand thing going here. Oh, I'll keep that kick on the 1, on the 4 on the floor, so we don't get confused. But you can see where this is going. We can do like a lot of different rhythms over here with the left hand, but I think we really need to get comfortable with this tumbao first. That hi-hat, once we get going faster, and once there's a bunch of people dancing, we don't want this hi-hat too dizzy. So I'll drop the up. I'll drop the on the hi-hat and make it simple. It may sound a little weird right now, this hat on the 1E, but I think that once this beat gets cooking, it's just real evident. And it's just such a neat sound. So you can spend some time trying to embellish these things, but I'd say for now, if you're interested in this style, really just that's going to be a real challenge.
Hey, Chuck, I don't mean to interrupt. Is there first of all, your presentation is awesome. Let's all give Chuck a
Thanks,
hand.
guys.
Everything you're presenting is so applicable, and I love how you are kind of it blossomed into suddenly you using congas, and I was curious, is there a way you could turn just like your normal room mic on without using your interface, so we could hear that without delay, or do you think it's a little too?
Oh, can you hear the delay as well?
Yeah, it's like really soft, but when you're playing for system, it's easy. Okay, now we can't hear you. Let's see.
Yeah, I could go with just this mic and maybe turn off all the extra audio stuff.
It's okay. Either way, I think your point came across, and we could hear the super groovy playing you were doing. It sounded like you were achieving like funky drummer with one hand, basically, and your feet.
it's a crazy things that starts happening. I sat down and I got real frustrated, you know, about a year ago. Like, why am I doing this in my room by myself? No one's ever gonna. And but I just kind of kept pushing through that, and I feel like you know, that gave me a unique sound that, you know, when other drummers were present, they were like, what are you doing back there? I get it, but I don't know what's happening. And it's just really, it was really fun to share that. So I thought, so I haven't really had a lot of chances to share that since I'm normally a percussionist, and this is a great channel to do it on.
Yeah, and other people also were speculating on whether this is a flipped image when you go to your camera view for your drum set, or if you're a lefty setup player.
Oh no, I'm very left-handed.
That's what I thought.
But it is a right-handed kit. I'm surprised that it looks
Oh, okay.
flipped. Okay.
Well, we didn't even,
Thanks,
I didn't
guys.
even catch that in sound check, but so you play on a righty kit, but you are a
Yes.
lefty.
Correct.
Well, that just boggles the mind even more. So, yeah, I loved also just anytime you bring linear concepts to the table and then kind of, I love how the linear sometimes in itself is a melody, but then you brought the melody of the conga in, and for me, I was like, oh man, there's just so much happening here. Kind of,
Hey,
Yeah.
like, it's a cool synergy to it.
can I ask a question, Kirk? I don't know how to raise the hand, but is anyone else waiting?
Yeah, jump on in, John. What's up?
Chuck, you started out talking about the Texas Shuffle, which is like a really awesome groove, and I think you said really tough to master, and I agree. But I missed the connection because I have like ADHD. So, were you saying that you were using the Texas Shuffle handwork in that groove?
That's a great question, and I'm really glad you brought it up. If we have like one more minute for me, I'd like to show you what I mean.
Please, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, on that Texas Shuffle, what you're essentially doing is what I started doing by inverting these 16ths, right, left, right, left, right. Because that Texas Shuffle, this left hand is, and the right hand is, you know, some of these guys are moving along and they put all the notes in. So the band doesn't really want that. They want to hear it. That's all they want out of the ride cymbal for that. So I'm doing that same pattern, right? Left, right, right, left, right. And you get that.
But you're accenting differently, right?
What's that?
You're accenting each hand differently.
I suppose this one's kind of keeping that that same accent pattern, and this one is really just riding on the cymbal.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I hope that clears it up a little bit. The old
It
Texas
does.
Shuffle.
Chuck, would you do us a favor? The audio is much better. Before you go, can you play us just the last thing you did where you kind of went for a second between your the figure that you taught us with the hi-hat on the E and the congas? Would you be willing to just play that one more time for us now that the delay is gone?
Sure. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it, but I've got this thing that's awesome. I just throw my stick in there like that, and it's always right there when I need it again. I don't know if you can see that up there.
Yeah. What is that?
It is, I cut one of those Diablo things in half from the toy store. The Diablo, and it's got ridges on the inside, and just throw your stick in and then just grab it. And it's just the greatest thing.
When you say Diablo, you mean like the sticks that you pass back and forth?
Yeah, the big yo-yo thing. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So not a terrible idea. I don't.
I love
Okay.
it.
So yeah, I find often that embellishing the kick is hard, and I'll work with different songs to try to just get that one rhythm. But yeah, I can go ahead and play something with that. And let's take a note of this hi-hat opening on the one, because that's what that foot really gives me. I think that's probably suffice.
Yeah, let's give it up for Chuck Morris, everybody.
Thank you guys.
And Chuck, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I'm embarrassed I didn't put two and two together, but we've met before. It was just in the middle of the night in between set changes on a show before. But everybody, I don't want to blow up Chuck's spot, but Chuck is the percussionist for a band called Lotus that I grew up listening to in high school and have followed throughout the years. And Chuck is just, it's inspirational to hear you talk about drum set when I've just watched you mostly play percussion throughout the years. And I love everything you do on the percussion world, but it was so exciting to see you present. And thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah. Hey, give it up for Chuck, everybody.
Thanks, Chuck. Thank you.
So we have a couple more presenters here. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Again, this is Philly Drum Project Open Drum inaugural virtual event. It's going so well. I am just in awe of just the vibes in here. And just really quickly before we go to our next presentation, I just want to recognize Ryan Crump in the room, our founder and our kind of the guy that made all of this possible in one way or another. Even though he has been on the West Coast, he has always been in an advising capacity with us as we transition to the years beyond Ryan Crump in Philadelphia. And just wanted to say thank you for being here. It's really special. If you want to say anything right now, I open the floor to you, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the spot, but how amazing is this? This is so great. I would love, no pressure, Kirk and the rest of the crew here, would love to see this continue because this is awesome. Especially folks are here from all over the country, maybe with some ties to Philadelphia and maybe with not. Maybe not. Shout out to my friend Charlie Alcorn, who I invited to come here today over in Tucson, for example, an old PDP member as well. But just, yeah, it's just amazing to see you all continuing this project. Yeah, I couldn't be prouder of you all. And but yeah, let's continue with it. I'm gonna stick around afterwards for some beers, like the olden days, if anybody wants to hang.
Yeah, and thanks for reminding me of that tradition, Ryan. And yeah, we'll hang out afterwards, and anyone can talk about whatever. It's just so great to have you, Ryan. And so we're gonna continue on with one of the people that I truly, whenever I think of Philly Drum Project and Beats, Brews, and Banters, and sitting in a room with a like 10 to 20 people, or sometimes 30 or 40, but often it's a very intimate event where we're all in the room together, there to talk about drums, to kind of be our support for each other, and to kind of share in this thing in person. And Ken Eidinger, he's always he's been at like almost every Beats, Brews, and Banter event that I can think of. And he is one of the funniest guys in the drumming world that I know of. Brings just a smile to my face just thinking of Ken, but also is a very talented drummer, very well-experienced teacher. He facilitates drum circles for veterans, among other things. He is, like I said, he's always there. And Ken also is working on setting up some merch situations for our organization. You'll see I'm wearing this Philly Drum Project t-shirt, and this is kind of an outdated artifact from when we bought a huge box of t-shirts a long time ago. But we are starting to move towards new merch. So Ken has some stuff that we are hoping to present to you guys pretty soon. But I think I can hand it off to Ken really quick, just so if he wants to introduce his video, he's welcome to. Otherwise, I actually have the video. I have it on my computer, so I'll be presenting it. Ken, you want to say anything before we get going?
Sure, Kirk. Thank you very much for that awesome introduction.
Absolutely.
Covered a lot of bases, the drum circles for veterans, the teaching. I'm also a U.S. bands adjudicator. So I do marching band, we do marching band judging, and that entire season for U.S. bands has gone virtual too. So the art is continuing in whatever form that it can. The video pretty much speaks for itself, so we could just roll it and I'll entertain questions afterwards. It runs about 8 minutes or so.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so Ken pre-recorded this, and I'll use this opportunity as a point to just say, if you want to be part of a Philly Drum Project Open Drum event, feel free to send us an email or go to our website, phillydrumproject.org, and you will see a contact us form at the bottom. And also, if you'd like to become a member or get on our mailing list, all you need to do is go to the same website and you'll choose become a member. Like I said earlier, we have no dues for that. The reason why I bring this all up is because you could be on this call doing a presentation like Mr. Ken. Mr. Ken chose to do it with a video, which is a great way to do it. If you want to try to present some stuff and you're like, I'm not sure how I'm going to put this all into 8 minutes or 10 minutes. So I highly recommend Ken's approach. So just let us know if you want to present, put it in the chat or send us an email. I'm going to share my screen and get started with this video right now. And I hope everybody enjoys it. Give me one moment. Here we go. Whoop, gotta go back to the beginning. Here we go.
Hi there, this is Mr. Ken Eidinger coming to you from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the Philly Drum Project's Tuesday, October 27th Open Drum presentation. Today I'm going to do a tutorial about 4-note groupings and how they could be applied in multiple ways in and around the drum set. What I'm going to try to do is to keep all 4 strokes on the same voice for consistency, although they may end up being part of a 5-stroke pattern. By keeping the 4 strokes on the same voice, it isolates them and becomes its own unique rhythm. So I'm going to try something a little bit different. Instead of starting on count 1, I'm going to start on count 3, because very often songs will start with a pickup. For example, 1, 2. Or they can start on count 4. 1, 2, 3. You could apply them to a variety of drum set grooves. For example, You could also apply them as triplets within a triplet groove. A 1, 2, 3. Something like that. Mechanically, they can be played as single strokes, in which case they're offsetting. And by that I mean whichever hand they start with, they end with the other. Right, left, or left, right, left. But they don't have to be single strokes. They could be double strokes. They could be a combination. There we apply them as just a single paradiddle phrase. You could use them as a variety of 16th note phrases within a groove. 1, 2, 3. You can also mix them up with different hi-hat patterns. That kind of thing. Also mix them up around the cymbals. They're very fun to play as a 16th note triplet grouping, where you either have the downbeat on the attack on the downbeat, and the release on the upbeat, or the attack on the upbeat and the release on the downbeat. 1, 2, ready, go. Very often they can be used as a tag at the end of a song. Something like this. At that point, it takes on a triplet feel. A popular ending that I could think of is the end of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Da 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 dum. That da 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 dum gives it gravitas, and it makes it more dramatic. They can be used as 30-second note mini phrases if you've got the chops for it. Although I'm playing those as part of a singlet 5, because I'm playing the release on a different voice, you get that digga isolated on each drum, or each cymbal, as it were. And as I was saying before, you can use the cymbals for various 4-note grouping phrases. That nature. Very often you can use them to add a little bit of funkiness to the grooves that you're playing. For example, bit of drags, a couple of flourishes in there, just make it a little bit interesting. And I hope you get a chance to take some time to work on these, practice them, figure out different places that you can put them within measures. There's good old 1, 2, 3, 4. Right on the downbeat. So those could be placed in a variety of contexts, and there's tons of possibilities. Hopefully this lesson has opened your eyes to some of the uses of 4-note groupings. And if you have any questions, I can be reached at 610-457-9449. This is Mr. Ken, having a great day, and I hope you're having a great day too, here with the Philly Drum Project.
All right. Let's give it up for Mr. Ken. That was awesome.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many ways to apply 4 notes.
And that's the tip of the iceberg.
It was super refreshing, actually. I love the way you presented it. Just 4 notes. What can we do with those 4 notes?
Exactly, exactly. And there's, like I said, there's a lot more we could do. I would be remiss if I did not say hi to Ryan Crump, the founder of the PDP. I am also a founding member, and I'm glad to still be sticking around. This is it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just so awesome. I think Brendan said earlier, there's some things about this that in some ways, other than, I mean, the silver lining here is that we get to be like in your space with your drums that you're comfortable playing on, that make you feel like the most ready to present your material. And I think that's like a super special part about this. It's an opportunity that we are getting here that we never got before. And I think that's something to be thankful for. And I just wanted to thank, like, I'll also just toot your horn for a second. I thought there's so many ways that you presented that were inspiring. Your knowledge on drums extends like in so many directions, and it was so exciting to see all the different techniques that you pulled out, all the different voicings.
Thank you.
And the placement of that 4-note grouping. That was super awesome.
What's interesting is there's very often a disconnect between what a player can do when they're on their own, on their kit, whether they're just playing or practicing on their own, or whether they're in a virtual situation like this. It's completely different from when they're immersed in a live playing situation.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to get a sense of how good a player is based on them in isolation.
I agree 100%. It's so difficult to get a pulse on anything in this space. And despite the fact that we're all like in our own worlds, and some people have their cameras on and some people have their cameras off, and like somebody's screen is like slow and frozen, and everybody else, some other person's screen is doing just fine and moving just fine. It's like just the amount of engagement in the chat, and I don't know why I know that this is just a special night. It's something you have to just like put it out there. Like, and that's one thing I just wanted to say. Thank you everybody for letting me host this and letting me kind of run things. But one of the things that I want to point out is that we are moving towards more events in the future. And as part of that, we're going to start bringing in other people that are going to present and be moderators or hosts. As we get different events that are facilitated by different arms of this organization, different people that come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I know this and that person, and I'd like to bring them in. It's my goal to recognize them as somebody in the community that has their own voice and their own questions to ask. And so I just want to throw it out there that, you know, this space is meant to be whatever you want it to be. We are all drummers, or we are drum fans or percussionists. The idea here is that we share and that we come up with innovative ways to enhance each other's experiences on this world and in this drumming world specifically. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And kind of let you know that there are a number of people on this call, like Jerry and Amy and Matt, and we also got Mike in there. I don't know if he's still, yeah, Mike's still out there. Mike, who else? And Ken, Casey. Casey always gets me with the way he says his name normally, but Casey's out there. We also have Eddie on the call. I think we have like pretty much the entire steering committee here. I just wanted to say that they are all with me, meeting every other week, talking about what's going on and how we're going to move forward. If you want to get involved, if you want to be on the steering committee, if you're interested in getting deeper with us, if you want to bring up some sort of educational program and you see a way to do it right now, we are open to those ideas. Like I said, we have a small budget and we are working to bring programming to you, but this is a collective and it's all about your voice. So hopefully that's the big theme you're taking away tonight, that this is in your hands as much as it is in ours, and we share this together. So I have a good friend named Colin who is going to help bring us home here. And Colin has been patiently waiting till the last slot, and I really appreciate him for saving it all for the end here. But Colin is a great percussionist. He plays with the prestigious Talking Heads cover band, Start Making Sense. One thing that's really cool, and I bet you he'll probably talk to you about this, but one thing that I know, a really fun fact about Colin, is that he is also an extremely talented saxophonist. And it's really fun to talk to Colin about drums when I'm in the same place as him, or if we call each other up and talk, just because he has that extra perspective. And I have a feeling that's kind of where he's going with things, but I have no idea, and that's kind of the fun of this. So I wanted to hand it off to Colin, and yeah, let's do it. You probably need to unmute yourself, Colin. I'm not sure. I'm going to spotlight you here. Yeah, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Yo, thank you, man. This is exciting. I haven't done anything like this in the past, so this is cool. And last time I saw you, Kirk, was well over a year ago, talking about the Talking Heads tribute band. The drum set player he had a back problem, and so he couldn't make a festival. So I got a text the morning of the gig from the band leader, and he's like, "Hey, this guy Kirk is gonna come and fill in." I called him right away. I'm like, "Dude, we're going, we're playing," and it was such a great festival. It was awesome. It was great seeing you. You did an awesome job. So, you know.
Oh well, thank
you too.
Well, thank you. It's weird how this all came together, and it definitely wasn't on purpose. But Chuck was also on that gig. That's when
Chuck
so
showed me how
just,
he.
Yeah, I didn't plan it at all. This is just how the universe works. It's crazy like that.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, you touched on the saxophone thing. I grew up as a young kid playing saxophone. I went to college for saxophone, and I grew up in marching band. I was in jazz band. You know, I did the whole thing. So I'd like to talk about a couple non-drum things that made me better at drums. So obviously, learning other instruments was huge for me. Playing drums, obviously going to college, I learned how to learn very quickly, which was huge for me. I was able to pick up other instruments. Also, I grew up playing guitar, and I play a little bass too. So all of my experience on those instruments have made me such a better drummer, just because I can understand melody, harmony, different roles in playing with a band, which is huge if you ask me. And I like the group dynamic a lot, a lot of interpersonal play there, which I enjoy. But all those factors of playing different instruments has been huge for me learning the drums. And yeah, so one difference between saxophone and drums that was a huge hurdle for myself was the physical part of it, right? When you're playing saxophone, you have to blow tons of air through the instrument in order to produce something all the time, right? So in order to get a note, I'm pushing out a lot of air. Now, that's different from drums, because if you're sitting down on drums, I can I can keep time and hold my breath. And while you can hold your breath while you're a drummer, it's not going to sound like it's relaxed or breathing. And just hopping down on drums as another instrumentalist, I was able to play music. Sitting down and emulating was no problem for me. But the physical part was, and that was a huge hurdle. So I basically learned how to play and breathe at the same time, which you, to an extent, again, didn't have to do with saxophone or guitar or bass. But when you're a drummer and you're playing a song that's 4 minutes long, that has to be so consistent, relaxed, and even that you need to, really breathe consistently. And I worked on breathing and playing for a long time. I mean, I sit here and practice breathing without playing. So I could go on and talk about different examples of how to breathe or whatnot. But I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience with doing yoga, which has been probably the biggest thing for me, transforming my sound on drums. Again, growing up playing saxophone, lots of different skills, but in elementary school band, jazz band, in college, they always told me, hey, Colin, you're not sitting up straight. And I was like, I'm just playing the sax. I don't care what you're saying. Like, when you're playing the sax, I was just sitting like this. So for, a good 20 years, my back adjusted to being very much on one side. So when I played drums, I wasn't nice and up straight. I was like to the side, right? And that was a huge hurdle for me because my time sounded one-sided. And that was one thing, changing my time. But changing my posture was a whole nother thing. The very physical part about it was difficult. And, I found a remedy to fix that through yoga, which I've done for many years now. And it's funny, the first day I started yoga, I got home and said to myself, I'm like, wow, this is exactly like playing drums, right? So there's a lot of parallels in breathing and movement between yoga and drums. So especially in the movement, obviously everybody knows yoga, we can sit here and do poses and whatnot. Poses is just part of it, but the movement of yoga is is a larger part, and it's more important, right? I can sit here and make all cool shapes, but in order to move fluidly, slowly, with strength and conviction and tension, it takes a lot of practice. And hey, I mean, isn't that similar to playing drums? It's very based off movements. If I'm not in line with my movements, when I'm trying to produce time or produce a feel, like my limbs aren't going to be in the right spots at the right time if I don't have the movement down. So, there's a lot of specifics I could talk about, poses, whatnot, but just the movement, the learning of movement, and really getting in touch with my body, having all my muscles relax while playing has been so huge for me. I do everything I can to sit down as straight as possible. And, we could say, like, Buddy Rich, Steve Gadd, they were always down like this and had terrible posture, but they're the best players ever. This is just my experience. And the second I was able to get out of very crouched, tight position, I was able to open up and start breathing freely. My sound opened up. Even I opened up to listening to other musicians easier as I was able to find a better sense of gravity. I was able to just absorb more around me rather than being closed off to the other musicians, the other sounds. I wanted to be open and accepting. So yeah, that's just some of my experience with yoga and movement. And that's just one thing that's not physically playing drums that has helped me a ton. And there's a lot of other non-physical drum playing that has helped me too, like goal setting, or I've often had mentors, or finding other hobbies and being passionate in that. There's been a ton of other parts and aspects of my life that have in turn gone and helped me be a better drummer or a better musician. And I'll talk about goals real quick if I have another second. That has been huge for me because, again, I was a saxophone player. I grew up in a school band and went to college, and then, like, in the middle of college, I found the light. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna play drums. That's exactly what I want to do. Like, that's what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And I realized, I'm like, well, I didn't grow up playing drums. How am I gonna get over that hurdle and be able to play? I'm like 23, 24 years old. And honestly, goal setting is really the only way I was able to see what I wanted to do and know when I got there, or know when to make new goals. So that was huge for me. I told myself that I wanted to practice consistently for 10 years, and then hopefully by that point I would go on tour by 30. And I have basically almost done both of those things, and I toured a little bit before I even turned 30. And I think if I didn't set those goals, I wouldn't have been able to do that for myself. So I found goal setting hugely important. I took a lesson right before COVID with a favorite Broadway drummer who told me that I needed to goal set, which is funny because I grew up being like, yeah, I play multiple instruments, I want to do new things, I want to learn other things than music too, and I set goals and I did that. But like, I went to a professional drummer, I'm like, look, this is all the stuff I can do, and we can even play. He's like, you need to set more goals. I'm like, I did that, and he's like, no, more. So I found that goal setting helped me get to another level, whether it was as a drummer, a musician, or a person. Kirk, how am I doing on time?
You're doing fine, man. I mean, this is some inspiring stuff, dude. I'm loving it.
I don't know. So
I've never heard someone talk about drums from this angle before, and it's so great. And I think you're winding us down in a wonderful way. So keep going for a little bit, and then we can formally end.
Yeah, and there's so much awesome material on the internet of, do double paradiddles, displace here, and all that information's out there, and you can go listen to those guys because they can play it and teach it better than I ever could. But I don't hear people talk about a lot of the other aspects, like, of life. People talk about feel. How do you make a better groove? Well, like, I don't know. How do you feel about life? How do you feel about the other aspects of life? I only know that I develop a feel on instruments because I've put all my feelings, which are emotions, into it. And sometimes to get a good feel or a good groove, you gotta wear that feel, or feel as many things, and you gotta just wear that. You gotta wear that, right? Yeah. I mean, I could talk about playing things if you want me to show you anything, but I really do enjoy making a lifestyle that is creative. I don't want to just be creative on drums, right? I want my creativity of, yoga or fitness or health to supplement my creativity somewhere else. Throughout quarantine, I didn't play drums at all. Instead, I was like, okay, I gotta put my creativity somewhere else. So I bought this house that I'm in right now, and I redid a lot of it, and I put a lot of creative energy into building something, just like, building your craft, or building your sound, or building a skill. And it's funny how the more I put creative energy into other things, how it translates to drums, and it becomes an all-encompassing creative mind. So I just try to do that as much as possible, whether it's, again, yoga, other instruments, buying a house. I did real estate for years and property management growing up. I found a lot of creativity in that, and learning the business aspect. I have a lot of family members who are business owners, And you know, some artists, musicians say like, oh, you know, I just want to play. I don't want to do the business part of it. But you got to find the creativity in the business part of it, right? And you know, I've seen that through my family, who have been entrepreneurs and whatnot for years. So you got to find the creativity in other places, and then you're going to be a better creative musician. At least that's what I found. So another important aspect to my growth, I would say, is mentors. I've had a couple drum mentors, a couple life mentors, and that has been huge for me. When I started drumming, I met a guy named Ryan Berg, who was barely even started drumming, and I just took a couple lessons with him, and he showed me, just like, this is what you got to do. He just like handed me all the knowledge he knew. He's just like, here, do it. And you know, when an older person or a mentor, someone you look up to, goes out of their way to be like, here, take it, you gotta take that. You take it and you do as much with it as possible, right? And I mean, that's how I got the Talking Heads gig. And another mentor I had was an acupuncturist. His name is Jason. He's also a tabla player. When I had a big Lyme disease thing in college, and I dropped out of music school, and that's when I got into yoga and everything. And I met this acupuncturist who's, you know, big on spirituality and just health, lifestyle, and he also did music, and he just had so many experiences and taught me so many things that, you know, I really took a lot of value in someone older than me doing what I wanted to do, and then showing you how to do it, and then you're doing it, and it's just, yeah, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm just like ranting here.
It makes tons of sense, and you're bringing a lot of things home. This whole night has brought me, I feel like, to this moment that you're bringing home, which is just that drumming is a holistic thing in itself, and the path to what we at least like to think of as spurts of enlightenment seems to be looking to the left and the right, not just straight ahead.
And people have told, I've resonated with this for my whole life. If everybody else is taking a right turn, take a left.
Yeah. Well, it's really, thank you for saying what you said. And
no problem.
There's a lot of things in there that made me think deeply about the way that this all connects. And I really, it was really fun to get that perspective at this moment. So thank you. And everybody, please give it up for Colin Miller, life coach Colin Miller. I think he's doing consulting. You can no, but Colin, is there, you already plugged your part of the Talking Heads cover bands Start Making Sense. Is there anything else you want to let people know about how to reach you or anything before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, sure. I play in various groups here in the city and over the past couple of years. Like some projects that like don't even have names, that are just, you know, me and my friends just like getting down, having a good time. But I played with a singer. Her name was Hannah Krupa for a while. I played in her band before. It was called Local Honey. My buddy Steve has a band called Werby. I played with them for a while. I played in the jam band Static Flow. We don't do that anymore, but we have like a new thing coming up. You know, it's a shame that we can't go out and play live music, because I very much love playing live music. I've never been as good as the studio thing. But, you know, I hope in the future we can do more of that. But if you want to check me out, I'm on Instagram, Colin Real Miller. I don't post a ton or anything, but hit me up. I'd love to talk.
Yeah.
Hey, can I say one plug here? Because Colin just mentioned live music.
Please do.
I've been getting my fix at in Mount Airy. Milo Meeting House has an open mic outside, picnic tables. One night somebody brought a kit, and it was like I had the best backline ever. They made me sound good on guitar and singing, so you know they were good. But I get my fix on. I was dying. I used to go to Dawson Street Pub down in Manayunk every Wednesday, and that kept me in shape vocally and otherwise. But this is outside. You're socially distanced at picnic tables. There's a cover. tent over the outside. So if it rains, you're cool. And they have heat lamps, and it's huge. And it's pretty mellow right now, but just if anyone's looking in that area, Northwest Philly, it's pretty cool. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, and thank you, John, for kind of opening the floor to the last bit about Philly Drum Project I didn't mention, which is that it's meant to be a conduit for sharing information about our various projects that we're involved in or that we know of that we want to tell people about. So if you have anything that you want to try to spread through the network, please send us an email, make a post on Facebook, and tag us, whatever you want to do. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of wrap things up before we hang out in whatever informal capacity, whatever that means. Just thank you so much. It was a great night. And just a reminder that November 17th, coming up in 3 weeks, we will have Leon Jordan Sr., like one of the first call jazz drummers in this city who has been here for a very long time and always has awesome drum wisdom to bring to the table. He'll be doing our Beats, Brews, and Banter hour-long kind of clinic, and that'll be like kind of a little bit more of a Philly Drum Project meeting where we'll talk and give updates about things and see if there's any ideas that anybody has or wants to talk about. We'll have a little bit of a forum at that event. And then in December, we also have a really big quarterly event coming up with an international artist that we are going to be announcing very shortly. So stay tuned for those details. That will be before the holiday break, we are hoping. We're just waiting to finally confirm the dates and whatnot.